I just asked him a question, Doctor, how long do I have to live? He said, who told you you're going to die? And because all the stories I've been hearing about cancer, it's always bad at the end. So I never believe that one can survive cancer.
Welcome to Believe in Progress, the American Association for Cancer Research Foundation podcast. Join us and be inspired by the incredible stories of those who have faced cancer with strength and resilience, and the medical professionals who are working tirelessly to find new treatments and ultimately a cure. Believe in Progress isn't just about the science of cancer. It's about the human side of this disease. Together, we can make progress in the fight against cancer and bring hope to those who need it most. Welcome to another inspiring episode of the Believe in Progress podcast. I'm your host, Mitch Stoller, Chief Philanthropic Officer at the American Association for Cancer Research. Today, we're journeying remotely to Nigeria, where the fight against cancer takes on a unique and profoundly impactful form. Our guest, Gloria Orji, is a beacon of hope and resilience in this battle. Diagnosed with breast cancer at 35, Gloria faced her diagnosis head-on, transforming her journey into a powerful movement for change. Amidst challenges and against the backdrop of stigma, misinformation, and limited medical resources, she founded NePICiN, I hope I pronounced that properly, Gloria, the first cancer patient support group in Abuja, Nigeria. In this episode, we'll delve into Gloria's courageous story, the inception of NePICiN, and I'll get the proper pronunciation in a minute, and how this support network is reshaping the cancer journey for many Nigerians. We'll explore the significant hurdles faced by cancer patients in Nigeria, from dealing with metastatic breast cancer to overcoming societal stigma and the dire need for better medical infrastructure. Join us as we discuss hope, survival, and the collective effort to support those impacted by cancer in Nigeria. Gloria's journey is not just her own, but a testament to what can be achieved with courage, community, and the refusal to give up, even in the face of adversity. Gloria, welcome to Believe in Progress. We're so honored and happy to have you here. And you're our first global guest, so this is quite special to us.
Thank you, Mitch, for having me. I'm so excited.
And Gloria,
to tell my story.
So pronounce that what I mispronounced so uneloquently.
It's NePICiN.
And that's the network of people, right?
Network of people impacted by cancer in Nigeria.
I see.
NePICiN.
So
yes,
Gloria,
it's an acronym.
Gloria, tell our listeners, our listeners now are going to be global and worldwide, but tell us a little bit about yourself, where you grew up, where you're from, and a little bit about what you do today.
Well, I'm from the eastern part of Nigeria, Igbo by tribe, and I'm the sixth of seven children. I'm the last girl anyway. So in my family, I'm taken as the last because I am the last girl. So, and my journey started when I was 35 years old, and I noticed a lump on my breast while I was having my bath. Normally, I do breast self-exam. I got to know about it from, so many jingles talking about it. And I was having my bath and I noticed the lump. And in Nigeria, we don't have this periodic checkup or whatever. Everything you practically had to do it yourself. So when I noticed it, I told a friend of mine, and she was like, okay, let's go and check it out. We went to the hospital, checked it out. That was in 2009. And it came out, they took the tissue to the lab. It came out and it was benign. I was so relieved and happy. Then 6 months later, I felt another lump in the same place. And I was really scared. And I still went back to the hospital. And when I met the doctor, he checked it. He was like, oh, this lump is even bigger than the first one. I remember that day I wept and wept. In fact, I wept because somehow I knew it wasn't okay. I knew something was wrong.
Mm-hmm.
So the doctor took did a lumpectomy, took out the lump, and then took it to the lab. And the result was supposed to come out in 2 weeks, but because there was industrial action by some medical professionals, so it delayed for about 6 weeks. And when the results came out, my doctor called me, and I was right in the middle of my postgraduate exam. He called me. He said, "Gloria, can you come to the hospital now?" I asked him, "Doctor, I hope everything is fine." He said, "There is nothing God cannot do." I had to take 3 different exams that day. I had just taken one, and I was about to take the second one, but the anxiety did not even allow me to continue. So
Right.
I went to the hospital. Yeah. And after some minutes, the doctor was like, "Gloria, your result didn't come out the way we expected. You have cancer." And my life just stopped at that moment. I just asked him a question: "Doctor, how long do I have to live?"
Hmm.
He said, "Who told you you're going to die?" And because all the stories I've been hearing about cancer, it's always bad at the end. So I never believed that one can survive cancer. So when I asked him that and he was like, "Who told me I was going to die?" I thought he was just trying to make me feel better. After all, he's not even the one
Right.
that has cancer. So he can tell me whatever to make me feel better.
Right.
So he referred me because it was actually a hospital, a private hospital. He told me they that he's going to refer me to the public hospital where there's an oncology department so that I can have better and cheaper care because I was paying out of pocket. I wasn't on any insurance. And I was referred to the SOPD. He recommended I go for mastectomy. And when I went to the surgeon, I met him. Um, the surgeon, I told him I wanted to the mastectomy. And the surgeon was, "No, Gloria, you're too young. I don't want you to go through that. Are you married?" I said, "No." "Then you're too young. You're 35." I said, "Doctor, I want something that will, minimize the risks. I just want to have it." Already, I've called my family. I told them, and my family, I have a very supportive family, and they said, "Gloria, just go ahead. Whatever is going to make you to be alive." Kudos to that doctor. He said I should trust him, that we should proceed with the treatment first, and then he will see how far the treatment was going to affect the cancer before we decide if we are going to go for mastectomy or not. And that was exact. I didn't want it. He spent a lot of time trying to convince me, but one thing made me to agree, and that was because before I came to the hospital, I went to church and I prayed and I asked God that whoever I meet as the doctor and whatever the doctor tells me, that is what I'm going to do. So when the surgeon was insisting I should go for I meet the oncologist for chemotherapy treatment before I come back to him. At the end of the day, I gave in. I said, "Okay, let me just go follow suit, whatever he said." So I was sent to the oncologist, and when I got there, I was asked to do 6 courses of chemotherapy, and after the chemotherapy, in fact, after the second session, I couldn't feel the lump anymore. And by the time I took the sixth, I wasn't feeling it anywhere at all. So the oncologist sent me back to the surgeon, and there was a wider margin excision was done, and the margin was clear. So my breast was intact. The doctor said I should go for radiotherapy, and because the cancer was estrogen positive, so I was also placed on tamoxifen for 5 years. And yes, I went for radiotherapy. I did 25 sessions, and As I was going through the treatment, I realized that I wasn't dying.
Right.
I was still here,
That's a good thing.
and the fear actually reduced. And there are some nurses that gives us lecture early in the morning before we start seeing doctors, and they kind of gave me hope from their lecture. They were like, if you follow through with the treatment, you're not going to die. Cancer is not a death sentence. And I realized that each time I was going through the to see my doctor, a lot of persons were just like me when I started the chemo. When I was diagnosed, we knew nothing about cancer. We just felt that anybody diagnosed of cancer was going to die.
Hmm.
And so during my clinic days, when I start talking to some few people that are close to me, I realized that there are others that came for the same clinic. They will be drawing closer. At the end of it all, some will call me aside and say, Sister, let's talk about this. What were you saying? How do I cope with this? So that made me to realize that cancer patients are lonely. We have no one to talk to. Cancer patients in Nigeria, we have no one to talk to.
Hmm.
Our fears, we swallow it up, we cover it up. We believe that nobody will understand us, and actually nobody does understand. So I felt that there was that need for cancer patients to have a forum whereby we can be free, share our experiences, talk about our diseases, talk about our fears, our aspirations, and everything. So, and well, I continued doing my little bit. Anytime I go to the hospital, to the clinic, I kept on talking to few patients like myself, giving us hope. From a year, I was given after my treatment. My treatment started in August of 2010, and I concluded with the radiotherapy in May 2011. Then I was now given some periodic checkup, 3 months. From 3 months, I was given 6 months. Later, I was now on annual checkup. So, and each time I come, I from a year I went to 2 years, 3 years, 4 years,
Mhm.
and the nurses were so impressed. So sometimes when I come, they will tell me, Gloria, why not talk to fellow patients like yourself, give them hope,
Mhm.
and that was how I started talking. I wasn't afraid sharing my story with them and telling them that there is hope. It's not a death sentence.
Cancer can often be seen through a lens of stigma and misinformation. I'm hearing a little bit about what motivated you to speak out, but why is there, in your opinion, the stigma and misinformation in your country?
In my country, there's this belief that if something bad happens to you, you're at fault. There's this erroneous belief. So it's assumed that um, if you have cancer, in fact, some of our preachers, they preach it, they will tell you if you don't donate money to church, if you don't do this in the church, you will be sick, you will have cancer. So, such things, and we are predominantly religious group. Islam and Muslim, the same thing, you're told if you don't do this, this will happen to you. So a lot of persons believe that if you have cancer, it's probably because you're not living a good life. It's probably because you're not doing all that you're supposed to do. And that's why cancer came. And I wanted to disabuse that mind. Some tells me, oh, it's because why did you accept it? You shouldn't have accepted it. Some tells me, I remembered on one occasion I went to the clinic. We met a guy came sat among us, and we thought that he was also a patient. And the next thing, as we were discussing our ailments, normally, the next thing he told us was that we are that it is sin that made us to have cancer, and that we should go and do total immersion baptism, and when we do it our sins will be cleansed, and after it is cleansed we will be cured.
Wow.
because it is sin that brings disease. You know, that kind of explanation. And it struck me that none of us could challenge him. It was like we had already accepted our faith.
Hmm.
And after some minutes, I spoke up and I told him, we are not the worst sinners. Babies also have cancer. So what have they done? They didn't do anything wrong. So we are not the worst sinners. And by the way, we're already having cancer. Don't make it worse for us. And
Right.
when I said it, you know, other cancer patients were like, yes, it's true. Why would he say such thing? You know, so I felt bad because in terms of, in as much as we have cancer, we also have that stigma. And it is that stigma that makes a lot of cancer patients not to open up. We kind of hide it because of what people will say. We hide it because we feel that, oh, maybe there are some things we did or we are doing that we're not supposed to do. That's why the cancer came. And that's what they tell us. And by the time we hide it, may not. Many cancer patients don't even go to the hospital, and that's why when you hear about the mortality rate in Africa, it's because we present at stages 3 and 4. So it's at the late stages we present, and it's because of the stigma. We keep on hiding it, going to church to pray, asking God to just take it away.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Mm-hmm.
when we're doing all those things, the cancer is growing. And when we can't endure the stench or whatever anymore, that's when family will now bring us to the hospital.
And Gloria, is this what inspired you to create and develop NePICiN?
Exactly.
So talk a little bit about that, because it sounds like it sounds like there was no support groups in Nigeria or even in the country to help cancer patients. Like there's here in the United States, there's lots of organizations and lots of support
Yeah.
groups. So tell us a little bit about NePICiN and what the purpose is and some of the challenges and what good things you're doing to help people.
Okay, first of all, I'll need to talk about the fact that even though I wanted the opportunity for cancer patients to have a forum where we can come together, I didn't have the means to do that. And it was Mr. Runcie, there's an NGO project, Being Blue. Mr. Runcie approached me. He actually knows another cancer patient that I met at the hospital. And the lady, Madam Khadijat, we lost her 2 weeks ago. God rest her soul.
Mm.
She knew me and she knew how I speak to fellow cancer patients when we come for clinic. So when Mr. Runcie met her and told her that he needed a cancer patient that can be going with him for outreaches to tell people that that cancer is not a death sentence and encouraging them to come for screening so that it can be caught early, Madam Khadijat referred, in fact, she brought him to my office and we sat down and we talked. He told me what he wanted me to do. Initially, that wasn't really my idea. I wanted to talk to cancer patients, not to go for outreaches and talk to people that didn't have cancer. But on the long run, I felt that the people that stigmatizes against cancer patients are the ones that don't have cancer. So if I'm also talking to them, it's also a way of helping out. So I joined him in the outreach. That was in 2015. Then in 2017, during the World Cancer Day, he decided that we are going to form a cancer patient support group. So he wanted us, the cancer patients, to have a forum. And since I have been working with him, I became the leader of the cancer patient support group. That we started with just 7 members, and then we were called Abuja Breast Cancer Support Group because all of us were breast cancer patients. But in 2018, some other cancer patients, when they saw that there is a patient support group, but it was only for breast. They were like, why are you guys doing only breast? We want to also join so that we will know what, we can be able to join in the conversation, change, the narrative, and also tell people that cancer is not a death sentence. And that was when we now, kind of to bring them in, we changed the name from Abuja Breast Cancer Support Group to Network of People Impacted by Cancer in Nigeria, NePICiN. So that was how it started. And we initially, the idea was we meet monthly. We also have a WhatsApp support group so that if there are some things that could be happening to you, you call a fellow patient and said, I am having such reaction. Did anybody have such? Can you share your experience of how or what your doctor told you about it? So it was really okay. We were really moving in that direction. We felt like, in fact, we felt like a family. We felt like a family. But after some time we kind of expanded into advocacy, and that was because when some stakeholders in the health sector discovered that there is a cancer patient support group existing on one of their advocacy visits to the National Assembly. They were looking for patients that will go with them so that they can have a fund that will be, specially set out for indigent cancer patients. Since most of the patients, they pay out of pocket, they have no insurance, and because they pay out of pocket, that's one of the reasons why some of them may not even want to come to the hospital at all. So
So, Gloria, I want to
they
ask you a question
they
about that, if
yeah.
I can. So, in Nigeria, in Nigeria, in your country, there is no insurance for people that can cover your cancer burden.
There's insurance, but it's not compulsory for people to enroll into it. The only persons that is compulsory are those that are working with government. So there is a National Health Insurance Authority. Then there are also some private companies that decide to also enroll their staff. But predominantly, I think almost like 90% of Nigerians, as at 2018, were paying out of pocket.
Hmm.
It's only a little number, 10%, that is being covered by
Wow.
insurance. And even at that, the insurance wasn't covering the complete care. They may come, they tell you, we are covering your surgery, we are not covering chemotherapy, we are
Hmm.
not covering
So
radiotherapy.
it could be quite
And because
devastating. Could be quite devastating to the families.
exactly, so you pay for your surgery. Oh, it's covered. That's for the 10% that is covered. Your surgery is covered, and when it now comes to chemotherapy, it is not covered.
Mm,
You have to still go and buy these drugs, and it is very
yeah.
expensive because most of the pharma companies are not in Nigeria, so they only have middlemen and representatives that sells these drugs. So you can imagine when you don't have an option.
So is this where some of your advocacy efforts are heading then, or tell me a little bit about the advocacy work that you all started, developing?
Okay, so the Health Federation of Nigeria, it's a group of persons that organizations. Let me use the word organizations, pharma companies, some individuals that have their own NGOs. And some that sells medical equipment. They have an organization. They call it the Health Federation of Nigeria. They were the ones that conceived to pay the advocate visit to the National Assembly so that there will be a certain amount of money set out from the budget, the national budget, for cancer patients that can't afford it, since a lot of cancer patients are not enrolled under insurance. And when they wanted to go, they needed a cancer patient that will speak up. And that was when they got they got my contact and invited me. And so I went with them to the National Assembly, and we were two uh, cancer. We were two cancer patients that went to represent other cancer patients, and we were asked by the legislators what we think, and we told them a lot of our members are dying because they cannot afford cancer care. So we are asking that some money funds be set aside for indigent cancer patients that cannot afford it. And they they actually bought into it, and they asked us to go and meet the Federal Ministry of Health, the minister, and ask him to include it in the budget because it has to come from the minister. So we now took our advocacy visit too, back to the minister. And I spoke passionately because then we had lost about 3 members within a space of 3 months. And it really brought us down. And emotionally, I told the minister that we are dying. And it is because there are no funds. And we present late and it gets worse. And that we need these funds. And the minister, after I spoke, I told him I'm a cancer patient and I know my members. Everyone on our support group is complaining about not having enough funds to continue with care. So the minister agreed and, he approved it and it was sent back to the National Assembly. And in 2019, it was added in the national budget.
Fantastic. So is it now every year do they act on a budget, or is it always in the budget?
Every year they add something to what is already there, but it depends on what they feel could come to it. The system to me is not as if it's that perfect already, but I think we have started, and some patients are already benefiting from it because it shows they picked about 6 pilot hospitals. So these funds are domiciled, are paid into those hospitals, and when the cancer patient gets enrolled into the fund, whatever care that hospital offers, you get everything free.
Because of your efforts, you really got this enacted, and clearly there's more to do, but without the efforts of you and your group, that would have never happened. I have a question. How did you learn about the AACR, the American Association for Cancer Research?
Okay, in 2022, the executive director of Project Pimblue, Mr. Runsi, the one I told you approached me.
Yes.
He was offered he was offered an exhibition stand at ASCO. He asked me, so he said he would need someone to partner with him so that we can go for the patient's advocacy meetings and also be at the booth, the exhibition booth. So he made me go for the first ASCO, which was in 2022. And then last year, that was 2023, I also went for ASCO. And it was at ASCO that we were going around the exhibition booth and we saw AACR. We got in there, what are you guys doing? And they said, wow, we told them that we were cancer patients from Nigeria. And they were like, great, if you want to join, if you want to be a member of AACR, why not join, fill your form. That was how we got to know about AACR.
You submitted an abstract, right? Could you tell our listeners a little bit about the abstract that you submitted?
Okay, it's about, there are 2 abstracts I submitted. One was done by Mr. Runsi. The second one, I was more like a gatekeeper for that abstract. The one I submitted was on CHF, and that's the one that has been accepted. Currently, I have been enrolled into the SSP program, so that's on that one. The research that we did was.
You participated in the SSP program?
I have been enrolled this year. I applied last year, November. And I think 2 weeks ago, they wrote to me and said I should, that I have been enrolled.
So
So
you're
I'm expecting to be at the annual meeting
in San
this year
Diego.
by April. Yes.
So we'll get to meet you in
Yes.
person.
Definitely, you will get to meet.
That's exciting. Fantastic. Can you tell me a little bit about your hopes and plans for expanding the work that you're doing, to help folks in Nigeria, people dealing with cancer, continuing to push the advocacy efforts? What are some of the things you want to get done?
I want cancer patients to be empowered so that they can stand firm and with one voice advocate for policies that affects them and not being brought in as an afterthought. It's like, oh, they say it's like, hey, we may be needing a cancer patient, you just bring me in after they have finished making the policies and concluding. I don't want that. And because of that, I think, and that is my aspiration, is that I want the support group to expand so that every state in Nigeria will have a cancer patient support group. And annually, we should be able to have a cancer survivors conference. We should be able to have that so that whatever communique we arrive at or we agree on, we present it. Let it come from us, not coming from them to us, because they don't understand what we are going through.
So Gloria, um, I think that's fantastic, and I love your vision of the future and what you're trying to accomplish. When you're at the annual meeting, I'll make sure that I come and meet you. But I want to introduce you to some people at AACR that do a lot of our international work, because we just had a conversation about starting to do more global policy efforts, and I know. The continent of Africa came up in a conversation that was had about a week ago, and so want to make sure that it's possible that AACR can start working with you and your group, maybe to help with your advocacy efforts. So we'll have to make sure that happens when you're there.
I would want clinical trials to happen
Yes.
in Africa. It's not happening at all.
So
It's not.
the new
Yes.
president-elect, Dr. Patricia LaRusso, who will become the president of AACR, is a very big advocate for trying to get clinical trials going in Africa. So that's another initiative of hers that will be going forward in 24, 25.
That's perfect. That's exciting news.
Yes.
Wow, it's a huge relief. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, a lot of work to be done, I'm sure, but at least I think people are thinking about it, and we know that is very important and will need to have an impact. Gloria, listen, it's a real pleasure and an honor to have you and to speak with you, and I think it sounds like you're definitely doing some very impactful work in your country, and you certainly have a vision for the future. And speaking for my colleagues at AACR, we're delighted to have you on the Believe in Progress podcast, and we'll be delighted to see you in San Diego at the SSP program. And so I want to thank you so much for giving time out of your day and for talking about the work that you've been doing. It's fantastic work, and we're very excited to continue to see it grow.
Thank you, Mitch.
As we close today's episode of the Believe in Progress podcast, I want to extend my deepest gratitude to Gloria Orji for sharing her incredible journey with us. Gloria's story is a profound reminder of the power of hope, the strength of community, and the importance of advocacy in the face of cancer. Her work with NePICiN is not just changing lives in Nigeria, it's inspiring a global conversation about resilience, support, and the urgent need for equitable cancer care. To our listeners, thank you for joining us on this journey. Your support fuels our mission to advance cancer research and improve patient care. We invite you to spread the word, share this episode, and join us in the fight against cancer. Together, we can make a difference. For more information about Gloria's work and how you can support NePICiN, please check our show notes. Stay tuned for more stories of progress, hope, and innovation in cancer research and patient support. Remember, progress is made one step at a time, and together, we believe in making that journey count. Thank you for listening to the Believe in Progress podcast, and until next time, keep believing in progress. Please subscribe to our podcast, share this episode with many, many people, and head over to our website, aacr.org, to consider making a donation. When you donate to the American Association for Cancer Research, your investment in life-saving research propels the important work of more than 58,000 members of the AACR in driving progress against cancer. You can support life-saving cancer research with any donation you make today. Thank you for listening to Believe in Progress, the AACR Foundation podcast. This podcast is produced by CollegeCast LLC. Please visit www.collegecastpodcast.com for more information. And don't forget, cancer research saves lives.